Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy Dump Friday. Today, I will be leading the stream, Maxim, founder of Santiment. And yeah, we will talk about two main topics. Well, it's one topic, but it's two subtopics. So they are namely, what is the possible metrics to understand or see on the data level when the dump risk level people are panicking and worrying? So this is the one. And then we try to picture on a bigger scale how few narratives are connected. It's, as I said, it's one thing, but taken from two different angles. So we can start from narrative, how the market moves. As you know, I generally like always to say that it's always in cycle, always in cycles. It will go up and it will go down. Now it will go down, that means it will go up eventually. So this never changes. But what is a narrative? What is a narrative, and how can we see that it will turn out? And the good approach is to understand that we are turning around, if we saw the panic or capitulation. So it's the name of our stream today. There is a panic in crypto town. If we are able to identify, yes, there is a panic, or there is a disbelief on the growing prices, it's a good time. Let's see on one specific chart. It's from our social part of the metrics. Max, you can share it now. And let me know if share it because okay, I see. So for those who don't know, we have this tool. We have this tool where all the social data is collected through the different channels. You can analyze it by placing a query. How often this or that specific word or combination of words which describes the topic appears in docs. And what we picked up here is to describe, as we believe, the main narrative. Market getting used or start pricing in more and more precisely the inevitable, which is actually already happening, inflation and reaction of central banks and possible outcome of it. And we choose two words, rate and hike, which we believe is interesting to look at, even though you could use in Fed and inflation, central banks, and rate hikes. But this tool shows two interesting things. First, no one was really paying attention or talking much just half a year ago, even though it started happening. Or if you would look into some data like curve of treasury bonds and everything, you would see that it already started to increase inflation rate, and central banks typically follow it with normally 2 to 3 months delay. So, but talks started to happen, and as you see in the charts, they intensify surprisingly, and the turning point. And 23rd of January, there was a strong spike in discussion about it. It was around the bottom, and we had similar beginning of March, and we have similar now. So this chat, we believe, can show you something or can show you the narrative. And the moment market agrees on something, the majority of participants agrees on something, this is what we know from our experience. Market turn around and is doing an opposite. So if we see an agreement on the market that rate and hikes, it's bad, and there will be tightening of policy, and there will be less money available, and inflation, in essence, is terrible for prices. You know what will happen next. We'll turn around just to surprise everyone, and then to make a different narrative once we go up. So you could use, and you should use this social search to identify the narrative which are developing in the market. And just to give you an example, effect or inflation. Yeah. Similar story. You'll see there is it intensifies or gets higher around the turning points. Sometimes a bit too early, like we saw in December, but then it grows even more and then around the bottom. Always similar behavior. There will be intensive talks, discussions, and rationalization of market behavior around the turning point. And once you saw the spikes, and especially after prolonged rally, you can make a bet that there could be a turning point. So this is one thing. Now, how can we see that the market based on on-chain or funding rates on some different set of data, that the market participant in a general, they became negative and reacting as if they have fear or panic in the down, or disbelief in the further price increase. This is what we want to see, and we want to see it on a data level. There are a few pieces of data, and we prepared some of them. One is founding rate. Founding rate is on the derivative market if players are mostly going long, so the founding rate will be positive. So those who go in long pay for those who provide liquidity. And if founding rate will get negative, it's other way around. Players are going short, so they have to pay for it. So they're convinced it makes sense to even pay for funding their position and go short. And at the bottoms, it has to be negative, yeah, more negative than we are now. We're getting there, and on Bitcoin it's not so bad, but on Ethereum, when we've been checking today, it was far away from ideal world. Now it's getting there. So as you can see on this chart, this is the levels where you want to be more negative territory, and especially good once the price recovers a little bit, like going up, and the founding rate does not turn immediately positive. It stays negative, like it was in the time between 26th of January and 3rd of February. Yeah, you see it stayed constantly negative, so it's a good sign. These two pieces of data can reveal some truth of mass market behavior. They're convinced it will go down, good. We can do the opposite. And another piece of information, and here we started getting good positive signals, it's multi-collateral DAI repaid. In essence, it's on a MakerDAO when the people create DAI, so they make basically debt, put some collateral and make debt. But the market going down, they might be afraid at some point of time that it will crash now, and they will have to pay liquidation fees. So they will lose more money than necessarily. And this high activity of repaying debt shows the same pattern, the same feeling of the market participants. They're afraid, they're scared, they're maybe even close to panic. If you want to see panic, this is what we saw around January. This is a very, I mean, this is the highest level on the record, 22nd of January. This is a real panic. The next one on 24th of February, yeah, very close, second highest. Now we're high enough to potentially make a bottom. But if you want to really be sure and just go based on this indicator, you want to see levels like we saw here, something about 100 millions of debt paid back. That will be a very strong signal. Now it's already getting better. So there is some panic or some worries. There's enough people believing we can go only down from here. So this, yes. Oh, sorry, yeah, of course. Yeah, it's better. Yeah, right. I almost. Oh, now it's indeed much better. Yeah, now I see it. And these two pieces of data can give you basic impression where the market is. And I generally always prefer, before going into too much details, see the forest. Yeah, is it I don't know, autumn forest with yellow leaves, or is it summer forest with green leaves? And then you can go in details and check every single tree. And now, yeah, we're getting to autumn forest. The leaves are getting dark and yellow and colorful. Getting more and more signals for positive sign. Now, we can also now go into more details. There is another chart layout which we regularly observe, and it's an interesting set of metrics. So we took what we did here. We took DeFi projects. iFi ran Uniswap, SushiSwap, Aave, Compound, Maker, and then some of DeFi too, Convex, Ohm, and Spell, and put on top of it a few basic, but good enough metrics to see the behavior of the really mass participants, namely active addresses, it's now in blue, H consumed, it's when all tokens moved en masse, it's yellow, lines, spikes, and then relation between active deposits to their active addresses. It means from all addresses interacting with the network with this token on this day, how big is the percentage dedicated to moving to exchanges. And what we wanna, and you can see, based on the market phase you will be looking for specific patterns to make conclusions where we are now. Oh, I need to remove this again, check. Okay, it's better. yeah, remove preview, sorry. What we want to see now is, let me increase this one, it'll be better to see, yeah. Big increase of daily active deposits compared to network activity. It means token holders are worried or panicking. There is a panic in the town. If you want to see panic in the town, it will consist of two: high network activity, or if there is no high network activity, this red bars, which represent here percentage of exchange deposits in a whole amount of daily active addresses will be higher, like 34%. It's really, I think it's one of the highest I've ever seen. It means almost half of all interactions where people put in their tokens to exchanges. And you should not think twice why they do it. They want to sell because they're very worried. So if we see it, it's a very good sign. It's a turnaround. There will be panicking, and it should ideally happen on a set of assets, not just on one, on many. So in that case, it was indeed like this. We see in IFI around March 6 to 7 March, and same quite high level. Very high level on REN, going up at the same 35%, 28 to 35% around the same day, and the same on Uniswap, and the same on SushiSwap, yeah, and the same on Aave, everywhere. What we see now is still low. Keep in mind it's a daily metric, so the data will be calculated by the end of the day. So you probably want to check this data tomorrow. Did we see this high increase of active deposit going to exchanges compared to the whole network activity? And in essence, I would say that would cover if you wanna see on a data level, on objective way, some subjective information, namely, is there is a panic in the town. This data will reveal it, should reveal it. Ideally, all of them. Means founding rates, Bitcoin and Ethereum. I need to close all the time. Then high level of debt repaid, and high percentage of deposit exchanges compared to the network activity. If you see 4 of them, well, that's there is a panic in the town. If you see some of them, yeah, there is a panic in some quarters of the town. It depends on which ones. Yeah, but once we see the panic in the town, what are we going to do? Yeah, how are we going to interact? If you're really active trading and you want to take risk, you cannot sit quietly. There are now some levels which are important to maintain or keep in mind, because market showed specific behavior which defined now, once we turn around, strong resistance, both Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I will show what I mean by that. What is this? Okay, whatever. Oh, wait a second. Is there a way to keep all of them? No? Anyway. Okay. And after, okay. I see. So let's take here No need half year. I think 3 months is good. I will show one specific, and it is the same for Bitcoin and Ethereum. One chart. It shows here 2 metrics. One is social volume, amount of talks about specific coins. In this case, Bitcoin, but will be the same for Ethereum. And another weighted sentiment. It means feeling of the crowd at that specific point of time, and also partially multiplied by volume. So at 2 levels, it was very high reading. And for Ethereum or for Bitcoin, it's around 42,000. For Ethereum, 3,100. At that time, crowd turned quite positive. They thought, okay, the suffering is end. Now we can go on the up. And you can read it in the news about, again, talks about bright future. And I don't know, MicroStrategy bought a lot. And as what mentions of some other data providers, how good metrics are. It was around this time. So price will get very hard time to go over this price because many people bought, and the main purpose of market is to impact or bring you a lot of suffering. So to get over this price will be difficult. Whenever you decide that what we discussed in the beginning, there is enough pain, there is a panic. So you think, okay, it's worth going long. Keep in mind, go about 42K in Bitcoin. And I'll just show the same chart for Ethereum. Somehow it shows, I don't know why, something changes, it shows very weird charts, not the one I usually check. Okay. This one. And that was the level on Ethereum. No, wait, it still shows Bitcoin. I think we did some changes now. It's a bit looking different. Okay. So in Ethereum, it was, yeah, as I thought, 3,150. These 2 levels will be hard to come above. 42K in Bitcoin, 3,100 in Ethereum. I do believe we will eventually get over it, but that will be a hard fight. And with this, actually, I would stop. As I like in this difficult time or important times to keep focus on the most important part of the market, how to measure the panic, what will be a potential target where you should take profit, I believe, not investment-wise, of course, but and which data metrics to observe. This is now, in my opinion, the key points before we lost ourselves in too many details. Now we can check some other coins if there is demands and requests. Otherwise, I would stop by this short but important coverage of key data points. Did we have some requests, Max?
No, not any specific asset requests so far. We can give it a minute because we have some delay, so the chat will need a second to respond. But then we can wrap it up if you want.
Yeah. There are a few smaller but finer and important details if you go to our insights. Actually, I wrote it even. I don't do much of writing lately. How to see my insights? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Where I described one interesting way how you can analyze daily active addresses as a measurement of what might happen next. Keep in mind, daily active addresses, the reading by itself, if it's high or low, always has to be placed into the context. High readings on a falling market, on a growing market, have different meaning. But always think about as network participants, do they generally believe it's a good time now to be active or not? And if they do so, what could be the reason? So here we described, and luckily for this time, we did say most likely 95% will go down from there, which we did. But now we'll need to look for capitulation or panic signs, which we did in the first 20 minutes. TrueBit, Vita DAO. I'm checking our chat. Do you know this project? Nowadays, it's really so hard to keep with everything. Okay. Because I always like to understand the background. What is really doing? At least in which segment they are moving. It's important to understand. At least on the rough level, metaverse, DeFi, I don't know, NFTs. Guten Morgen, guten Morgen. Da kommt jemand auch so aus Deutschland. I will check in the meanwhile. What do we have for TrueBit? At least look shortly into it. TrueBit. We have something. Wow, this is a small coin with market cap 0, it says, which I don't think is true. How long does it exist? It exists since 1 year. Okay. One year with a huge movement here close to the bottom. And it makes a new bottom. Okay. I'm already looking into the TrueBit. Without knowing much about what project is doing. Okay, this I need here. Okay, let's check a little bit for the TrueBit. Yeah, as it's a new project, actually, let's start from this metric. I always like to look into one specific thing all time, namely into mean dollar invested age. If we had a distribution event, now we'll look into it and we take it a little bit smaller time frame. Okay, so in the case of distribution event, you will see mean dollar invested age going down sharply. So we had a little bit of it, but not much. It means two things. As I say, I have nothing. I don't know anything about this project. How legit it is or not legit. What is the token economics behind? How is the token minted? If all of them. But by this chart alone, when I look into it, those early investors didn't have chance yet to realize their profits. So it was a small event for distribution, but too small. So there will be on negative side very strong selling pressure. The moment the price go anywhere back, oh my God, this price is very big difference. Let's say, yeah, anyway around 20 cents, there will be strong temptation for token holders to realize their profits. So there will be stiff resistance. On the other side, when I look into MVRV, it's low. Yeah, it's really low. 50%, 20%, yeah. Wait one more second into network activity. So let's say daily active addresses, and we add here network growth. Network growth. So we add it here. We increase it a bit. Let me move a little bit to this side. Okay, so what do we see? Network, okay, no new participants, but the network still is kind of active. Actually, 100 people a day is not bad. Not bad at all for quite a young network. By the way, it's interesting for the future when you will be looking for an exit, because I see here again the very classic pattern. Our most favorite one, divergency, when in the middle of the rally you see huge spikes in everything, in network activity, in new participants, new blood, even here in a red color, joining the network. But once the price move in the final push, or even beyond the last top, but the network activity cannot catch up anymore. So you're on the top, or you're very close to the top. Just for the future. If we recover, and you will be looking for an exit point. This is the most classic exit scenario, how you should do it. Now let's see on a smaller time scale. So we dropped to 50, and once we recovered, we grow to 100. Okay. For whatever it's good or bad, there are enough people still participating or doing something with this token. The amount of 110 active participants, or even the lowest 50, is good enough to my eye. So project is not dead. Any price increase up to starting from 15 to 20 cents will be met with quite high resistance and selling pressure from early people who didn't realize their profits. And if you want to be ahead of them, just pay attention to this divergence. But without taking into account fundamentals, I have nothing idea about this project. It looks okay. My little honey homes. Properties of chain computation by Jason. One of okay, cool. Well, then cool. True bit. Off-chain computation. Yeah, I can check it later. Yeah. Do you want to discuss anything more? Yes, it will be, I think, our shortest stream on record, which is sometimes good. You can enjoy your Friday. At least this crashing market shouldn't keep you all the time in front of. And by the way, it was interesting. There were a lot of interesting data I'm observing lately. For instance, if we're anyway waiting here, or we still have maybe a little bit time, let's check something for Bitcoin. Just look at the transaction volumes. It's a very strong increase, both on USD volume, which is on a falling price, means high Bitcoin transaction, and you will see somewhere below. So it's and this is in a transaction volume Bitcoins. It means something. I still have to come up with explanation what exactly it might mean. But if even we take for 1 year, yeah, it's a very strong one. It's a really strong, constantly increasing Bitcoin transactions. So it might be just sometimes it could be those who believe it's a great dip or great price to buy, and we see it from Luna foundation buying, and some other big players still convinced it's a good price to buy, might be related to these transactions. And others seen as a last chance to buy cheap. And market might punish emotionally, at least, these players one more time, just going below all of their expectations. That may be one of the easiest explanation. Because it's a final bottom, the transactions typically, I mean, on-chain transactions will be rather low. You can see it here, like 19th, 20th of July last year, it was really low compared to what happened thereafter, and what happened before. Like in the May, it was relatively high, not as high as today, but relatively high, elevated. But once we made the final bottom, no one wanted to buy. Yeah, and those who didn't say, okay, whatever, I don't want to sell anymore. This is one explanation, and maybe my favorite one. And you will see also the lack of network realized profit loss going to the losses. So there will be a lot of coins theoretically moving a loss. It doesn't mean that they're selling a loss. Just coins which went to this address when the price was higher, now being moved when it's lower for whatever they're doing. But it shows you they're doing something. And suddenly, closer to the real bottom, it will stop. Yeah, it will be, so there will be no big loss readings. And transaction volume here, if we see in Bitcoins, ideally it should be low reading. 100,000 Bitcoins for around this level, between 150 and 200,000. Yeah, it will be increasing, going into the bottom, as we've seen here in the chart between 10th of May and end of May. And then either it will decrease or will start decreasing. Yeah, because the market will get confused and disbelief. And I don't know what I'm going to do. So we might be seeing now, just on a bigger scale. Somehow it's even a bigger scale. We keep buying more and more and more, going to the bottom, but then it should drop. So this is another possible metric for our panic in crypto town identification. We could add it to. At least I'm observing it. Okay, now I see some questions in chat. How healthy is strong after the recent price drop? Okay, how's BTC? I'm first reading everything. The market versus stock market. Okay. Let's start with correlation between crypto market and traditional stock market. It's almost one. I mean, they go down identically. Actually, at the moment, crypto was negatively outperforming stock market, with a good explanation why it is the way. It's much easier to move crypto market. It's small amount of participants. So, and emotions, be it positive or negative, spread around faster and impact marketplace faster. Because you also can make faster money if you short market, for instance. So it was moving down the last few days faster and more intensively than stock market. And in a sense, stock market actually, if you pay attention, always follows the crypto market. Crypto market, okay, not always, most of the time, crypto market directs faster, especially on weekends, and then stock market follow. Stock market needs a little bit more effort to move it. Not all the time, but most of the time. So you can say that crypto market is performing worse in a sense, but it doesn't mean anything except it's easier to move and it's much smaller market. It will move also faster and earlier to the upside, I believe. How healthy is strong? Max, do you know much about background for strong? I know that it was discussed here some time ago.
I do not, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, let's see something. What can we see there? Strong. Oh, that looks interesting. That looks interesting. It doesn't look good. Why did it? Wow, what happened? Maybe is it possible that they moved to some other contract because of network activity is like? I don't know. Wait. Maybe I will use another layout. I will use network overview. Then strong. Okay. Sentiment. Okay, I want to see some on-chain metrics. Yes, this looks suspicious to me. Is it possible they move to another smart contract because so sudden and strong drop? It looks unnatural. Weitzer 21 who asked about strong, if you know about. I just don't want to analyze some data where in reality it's just because of they move to another smart contract and the data is not correct. Because if they did move, well, it means not much, but if they didn't move and it's a real activity, then it's dead. It's really dead. And it's like two different statements we will be doing to the contract. It looks very interesting. So many interesting data points. Just need to make sure if they move to the smart contract. Yeah. On social level, it's communication quite good, so it doesn't look dead. I mean, it's the same as before. Actually, with very strong dominance. It's quite strong on 1%, not bad. And adding Twitter followers, not as much as before, which is a good sign. A few people are interested. But maybe Max and Gary, could we check for the next stream if data is correct, means it hasn't been moved to the new contract, then we can analyze it next week. And no worries if even price moves up, there is always time to consider entering again.
Yeah, Max, I've just checked this token and I cannot see any mention of moving to another contract. It stays the same.
Yeah, if this is a case, then it doesn't look good. No network activity. I wouldn't go so far to say it's a scam. It's difficult to say. Need to really read much more about. But network activity is too weak. It doesn't justify the price, so to say. Strong website looks like a hookers. Move on. Okay. Yeah, let's move on. We can close on this note. We can close on this note and just to revisit maybe the stream and the metrics we've mentioned in a few days. If we got the real panic, you will see this reflection. It will be reflected on the data points we mentioned today. Ideally on all of them, but at least on half of them. And next week we'll see how much we went and in which direction. Okay. Then happy weekend to everyone. And don't worry, remember, markets are moving the cycles. Everything will be good eventually. Good.
Thanks, Maxim. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you next week.